This is Word Skeptic, where mental health literature gets dissected. The Satanic panic has regretfully lived on past the 90s by a few professionals in the psychiatric community. Consequences of this phenomenon, along with bad therapeutic techniques and lawsuits, are the atrocious pseudoscientific books, such as this one, Healing the Unimaginable, Treating Ritual Abuse and Mind Control by Canadian psychotherapist Alison Miller. When I bared through attending the mental health conference by the International Society for the Study of Trauma and Dissociation, I was recommended this book by a psychotherapist who, believe it or not, gave a presentation over lizard aliens. She explained to me Healing the Unimaginable was a protocol for licensed and credentialed therapists to treat people who allegedly had DID deliberately induced by satanic cults and government agencies. On a side note, DID has been established to be iatrogenically induced, and symptoms arise from the unethical techniques used in therapeutic settings. Below there will be some links and great scholarly articles and books if you desire any further information. So, 3 words to describe Healing the Unimaginable are one-sided, egregious, and fantasy. Bizarre narratives tend to power the author's echo chamber of delusion. Healing the Unimaginable is reluctant to reference any scholars specializing in neuroscience or memory. But Alison Miller does draw upon sources such as Randy Noblet.
So basically I went up to the patient and did the procedure. And then massage the feet. Well, I was told by the helpful patient that a helpful child altar would come out. And that's what happened.
Colin Ross.
Every time you cut, you're working on trying to keep the body safe.
He thinks the CIA and others could be out to discredit them all.
And if the dissociative disorders field was starting to uncover some of the mind control experimentation that was done that's hidden in the alter personalities in the background, naturally they wouldn't be enthusiastic about that happening. So it would be necessary to have some sort of political strategy in place to counter that.
Which would be?
It's all just created in therapy, it's fantasy, it's not real, it's hypnosis.
Miller also seeks information from Neil Brick, a practicing licensed mental health counselor who publicly alleges he is a CIA super soldier who's raped and murdered while in an altered state of mind. As an attempt to breathe validity into this illogical notion that DID is deliberately created, Miller proclaimed that government agencies and ritual cults through mind control force children to build walls with Legos, physical walls with Legos and blocks, so they can superimpose those toy walls into the kiddos' minds to separate the alter personalities. Really, Alison? It is obvious within a few pages that Miller exhibits extreme paranoia. Without an ounce of substantial evidence, she firmly believes that satanic cult members often break into her practice, unbeknownst to her, with the goal to sexually assault patients. Now, stick with me here. Miller unconvincingly argued that cult members impersonate her by studying her tone of voice, mannerisms, and dress to trick her patients into believing the cult member perpetrating the assault is her, Alison Miller. My initial reaction was nothing but laughter as I embarked on this mental health literature that is bunk. I thought no one could take her seriously after catching a whiff of this shit. But then an unsettling wave of emotions came over me by the thought of this author actually providing therapeutic counsel to a person in need. What seems a plea to assert supremacy, Miller claims she is one of a select few therapists who have a special power to see when someone has DID. She believes herself to be attuned to multiplicity, whatever that means, and that she has the ability to see alter personalities lurking behind patients' minds. She proclaims outdated practices in a book that is 3 years old of leading questions, coaching, and persuasion. She even goes as far to say a primary objective of therapists is to convince the client that they've been deceived by a cult. More than 15 years before this book was written, memory researcher Elizabeth Loftus and Catherine Ketchum denounced these techniques in their book, The Myth of Repressed Memories. I think Alison Miller wrote this book with good intention. Nonetheless, her acts of spreading misinformation concerns me and has left me with unanswered questions. Questions that I've written in an open letter. Dear Alison Miller, thank you for writing your book. It inspired me and gave me plenty of munition to keep reviewing books like yours. Alison, after reading your work, I must inquire on some things. How exactly can I obtain these magical powers you hold to be attuned to DID individuals? Is there a spectral shaman I need to speak with? Because you didn't specify in your book. Do I really have to get a PhD? Seems like the education you and your colleagues have eradicates critical thinking. I just like these powers and keep my critical thought. You are quite confident in these techniques you practice, but how many years on average does it take you to help a client? Do all of your DID patients become unable to function in your care as you assert in your book? Is that a part of your get worse before you get better mantra? Did you ever think leading questions, coaching, and persuading clients could mislead them to believe they were victims of ritual abuse and mind control? Of course you don't, because you're the professional, and who am I to know better? Alison, thanks again. Don't forget to keep a critical eye, with strong aversion to your work, word skeptic. I literally wrote, oh brother. Please stay tuned for next Word Skeptic, where I'll be covering Colin Ross's Satanic Ritual Abuse, Principles of Treatment, because I love to torture myself with rubbish.